Hello, my loves. Today we're going to review fractions as division because a fraction is essentially a division problem. Here's our standard for today. I can think of a fraction as division of the numerator by the denominator. Okay, so you've got A over B equals A divided by B. Our goal for today, we can convert fractions into a decimal and percent. How can you change a fraction into a decimal? We're going to review fractions as division expressions, and then we'll go over to IXL and we'll convert some fractions to decimals, and then we're going to practice rounding some decimals. And your iReady lessons this week are all about rounding decimals. You have two iReady lessons. The first one is rounding decimals. The second one is practice rounding decimals. And remember, you need to get both of those done and get your 50 minutes in for math and 50 minutes for reading. All right, let's talk about some fractions as division expressions. I want you to grab a piece of paper and let's start writing these down together. So the first one is pretty simple. Let's do a fraction that says 1/2. And we're turning it into a division expression. Now, do you guys remember, let me undo, make it more like that. There we go. So do you guys remember what we did in the classroom and we said, this is a division bar that says 1 divided by 2. That is your division expression. So how do we find out what 1 divided by 2 is? You would simply divide 1 divided by 2. Please remember that it is not 2 divided by 1. It does not look like this, just because that would be easier. It says 1 divided by 2. Remember, when we read from left to right. So this one comes first. And what are we dividing? We're dividing pizza, because Miss Allison loves pizza. There's all my toppings on my pepperoni pizza. And I've got 1 pizza here, and I'm sharing it with 2 people. And why? Because we never cut our friends in half, right? Do not divide your friends. Don't break them in half. We can cut a pizza in half. Don't cut your friends in half. Please don't do that. Okay, let me get rid of this guy. So we have 1 pizza inside my pizza box. Do you see my pizza box right there? That's my pizza box. And who's standing outside my pizza? Who's standing outside my pizza box? My 2 friends are standing outside that pizza box, peering into that delicious pepperoni pizza. Okay. Now, can my 2 friends share a whole pizza all by itself? No, they can't share just 1 whole pizza. They have to, break it apart. They have to take that pizza and they have to break it into pieces. And when we're talking about decimals and percentages, and when we're talking about breaking things up for division, we're going to break them up into powers of 10, okay? Powers of 10. So whenever we add decimals, we're always going by a power of 10. So if I have 1, all right, we've got 1 whole. But what if I have 1 and no tenths, right? That's a power of 10. But what if I have no hundredths? There's another 10. That's 10. That's 100. And then what if I have 1,000th? Do you see how, again, it's a power of 10? 10 times 1, 10 times 10, 10 times 10 times 10. So the same thing is happening up here. We can't take 1 whole pizza, but what we're going to do is we're going to put a decimal in there, because now we're talking about parts of a pizza, parts of a whole. And we're cutting it in to 10 even slices, because we're always talking about tenths with decimals, powers of 10 with decimals. So now I have my pizza cut into 10 pieces. Can I share 10 pieces with 2 people? I absolutely can. Yes. So let me take my decimal, move it straight up there so I don't forget it. Now, 1, can I share it? Nope. So that's going to be my 0, right? That's going to be my 0. And now I have a number that says 10. What's 10 divided by 2? It's 5, right? 5 times 2 is 10, and now I'm at 0. So here's my decimal. 1/2 equals 1 divided by 2, which is equal to 5/10. Or if we're talking about percentages, 5/10 is the same as 50%, right? So each friend gets half of a pizza, or each friend gets 50% of a pizza, right? Now, you guys don't have to do all this math because you know that 1/2 of anything is 50%. You know that. If you go to the store and it says half off, we know it's 50% off. But look at the explanation that I put on my page to show you. All right, well, that was an easy one, but what if I had something like 1/5? If I had 1/5, pardon me, how do I turn that into a division expression? Well, it's 1 divided by 5. So again, it's 1 pizza, and this time it's 5 friends sharing that pizza. Can they share 1 pizza? No, we have to cut it up. And now we're talking about, instead of whole pizza, we're talking about tenths of a pizza. And nobody's going to get a whole pizza. That's not going to happen. So I got to make sure that we're talking about tenths here. How many tenths can I get? Well, let's see. What number times 5 is 10? 2. 2 times 5 is 10. So each friend is going to get this much of a pizza, or 2/10 of a pizza. But what if we wanted to talk about percentage? Well, percentage is always 100, right? So 10 to 100 times 10, 2 times 10, it's going to be 20. So each friend gets 20% of that pizza, or that friend gets 2/10 of a pizza. Okay, pretty simple. Let's do a challenging one. Let's say you've got let's say you have 2/8. All right, 2/8. That means we've got 2 divided by 8. That tells me there's 2 pizzas in the pizza box, and there are 8 friends around that table trying to get their hands on that delicious pizza. Can 2 be divided by 8? Cannot do it. We can't do that. But if we cut it into tenths, yes, we can. Now I've got 20. What number times 8 gets me close to 20 without going over? That's going to be 2, right? 2 times 8 is 16. And I subtract, and I've got 4. So in 4th grade, you would say remainder 4, but we are not itty-bitty 4th graders. We are practically 6th graders. So we know that we can take these 4 leftover pieces. These are 4/10. And we take those 4/10 and we cut them in 10 pieces each. Now we have 40 hundredths. And we can easily share 40 hundredths with 8 people. Because what number times 8 is 40? It's 5. 5 times 8 is 40. And now I'm at that 0. So my answer for 2/8 means I get 25 hundredths of a pizza, or I've got 25%. 25% of a pizza. Well, that sounds like a good deal. I like that. All right, let's try one more. Let's try another one of those challenging ones. Let's say we've got 6. Let's do, how about 15ths? Let's do 6/15. This tells me it's 6 divided by 15, right? Because when we read from top to bottom, and we read from left to right. So this says 6 divided by 15. So we've got 6 delicious pizzas in those pizza boxes, and we have 15 friends trying to eat that pizza. But as is, they cannot do that. So we're going to cut those pizzas into tenths. Oh, I can do that now. What number times 15 equals 60? You know, I was trying to get this to be a challenging problem, and this came out to be too easy. Oh, I didn't mean for that to happen. Think of that clock face, right? We've got 12 and 6 and 3 and 9. And when you start here to here, that's 15 minutes, isn't it? And when you go from here to here, that's another 15 minutes. And here to here is another 15. And here to here is another 15. And this is 60 minutes. How many 15s can we get in 60 minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 15 is 60. Oh man, that was just way too easy. So we have 4 tenths, or 4 tenths. Do we have 4%? Nope. We don't have 4% because look, this is in tenths. We need it to be in hundredths. It's going to be 40%. Oh, 40%. Do you see that? Okay. So, let me show you another way, because I know we were doing it with in IXL the other day. So let's go with this one. See that? Remember when we're converting from decimals to percent, all we have to do is move that decimal over 1, 2, and that empty space becomes 40. So that's another way to do it. I honestly prefer fractions because I like to make sure I don't make mistakes. When I'm moving decimals, sometimes I forget, do I move to the left or to the right? But when I put it into fraction form, or I use my big, beautiful math words that says 4 tenths, that really helps me because I know 4 tenths is not the same as 4 hundredths. They are not equivalent. But what is equivalent is 40 hundredths. And that's where I got my 40%, okay? All right, that one was too easy. I'm gonna try something really crazy. Let's do a 3 and a 17. Now I know that's gonna be crazy. This says 3 delicious pizzas being shared by 17 people. Okay, can 3 be divided by 7? No. But if I put a decimal there, now I've got 30. So let's do 17. What would 17 plus 2 be? We've got a 14. It's going to be 34, way too high. So it's going to be 1. And let me subtract. 7 minus 0, can't do it. So you got to go and knock on your neighbor. Hey, can I borrow a 10? Always a 10. And my neighbor goes, well, yeah, I got 3 of them. Let me give you one of my 10s. Now my neighbor's down to 2 10s. But you've got your neighbor's 10 in your pocket now. And when we subtract, we got a 3. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So now I'm at 13. I don't put a remainder because I'm getting ready for 6th grade. I'm going to talk about hundredths now and bring down my hundredths. Oh man, now I'm talking about 130 out of 17. Woo, those are some big, big numbers. All right, well, wait, I can think about this. Hold on. I got this. If I did 17 times 10, right? Wouldn't my answer be 170? And that's really high, isn't it? But what if I went kind of closer to 10 but less? So let me just guess. I'm going to guess 8. I'm going to guess and check. 17 times 8. 7 times 8. Guys, you know what? I'm not very good with my 7 times tables, just like you. but I know that 6 times 8 is 48. So I'm going to add 8 more, 48. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. Oh, that's right. It is 56, isn't it? And then I've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's 136. Oh, it was so close. But I guessed, I checked, and I know I'm a teeny bit too high. So I know for sure and certain, let me move this longer, 7 is definitely going to work. So 17 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 119. And now I can subtract. 0 minus 9, you can't do it. So you need to go to your neighbor, knock on the door. Can I borrow a 10? My neighbor says, sure, I got 3 of them. They give me 1 and he's down to 2, but now I've got a tenner. 10 minus 9 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1, and I've got a 0 here. Remainder 11, not gonna happen. I'm gonna add another 0, and now I'm down to 110. I know that this one is really close, but it's just a tiny bit over, so it's gotta be 6, right? Oh, I'm glad I showed my thinking and didn't erase it. So 17 times 6. Or I could just subtract 17, right? Yeah, 102. Cool, it's gonna be 102. And 0 minus 2, can't do it. I need to borrow. And now I'm down to an 8. So this problem is gonna keep going and going for a long, 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 long time, right? Because now I have to add another 0, bring it down, and now we're talking about an 80. Whew, 80. Well, I know that 17 times 6 is 102. And if I subtract another 17, I'm getting close. I'm thinking it's going to be 4. Let me check. 17 times 4. 7 times 4 is that right? My brain just stopped for a second. 28. Miss Alice, it's 28. Why I put a 4 up there? I'm glad my brain stopped because I got the wrong answer. 14 and 14, 28. Perfect. 4, 5, 6. It's 68. Ooh, 68, 69, 70. That'll give me 12 left over. So yeah, 12 is pretty good. So this 4 will work. And now I've got 12. So now I'm about 120, which means it's going to be another 7. And I'm going to keep going. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to stop. And we're going to take this number and we're going to round it. Do you remember how to do that? I hope you do. We're going to round to the nearest hundredth. And the reason we're doing that is because we're talking about fractions of 100. We're talking about decimals in the hundredths place. And we're talking about percentages. Percentages are in the hundredths. So let me find my hundredths place, which is right here. That's the one I'm going to round, right? So now I have to think about what is my rule. Remember the king and queen, and here's their crown. The king and queen of rounding, they are to the right because the king and queen are always right. And they make the rules. So we have to follow their rule. The king says, if it's 5 or more, let the place value soar. So, in that crown, do you see a king? I do. He's 5 or more for sure. So my place value is going to soar. And it becomes, I've got room down here, it becomes 18. So this is about 18 hundredths, or about 18%. Now the cool thing is when teachers are looking at your grades they're going to round up. So if you've got a grade that says 176 thousandths, it's going to round up to 18. So you're going to get a few extra like little bonus hundredths or bonus thousands of the point, right? Just to bump you up. And that's what teachers do when they calculate your grade. Do you see all this crazy math? This is what teachers do every single time. They have to find your grade. They have to do that division problem. And when they get this long answer, they're going to round it to the nearest hundredth because they want a percentage, and they're going to get 18%. Wow. This is what 5th grade looks like, and I think it's beautiful. It's exciting. No more 2 plus 2. We've got some amazing, amazing math happening. Okay, let's head over to our IXL practice. Okay, here we are. Oh, get out of the way. All right, we're here at G decimals, and notice I starred them for you so you could do some extra practice. Come on, get out of there. All right, we're going to convert fractions to decimals. Here we go. Okay, so now we did a few of these the other day. Let me get my pen ready to go. We've got 7/10, and we need to write it as a decimal. I almost just wrote it as a fraction or as a percent because I wasn't paying attention. Whew. Write it as a decimal. That says 0. As a decimal, it says 7/10. Well, here's how I write 7/10. We know that, don't we? That's chapters ago. 0.7. Awesome. All right, what about 3/10 as a decimal number? Well, it's 3/10 as a decimal number. Oh my. All right, we got a big one here. We've got 5, 6, 4, 9, and we're talking about 10 thousandths over 10,000. Okay, we can do this. We can do this. Okay, here's my whole number. And then there's my decimal. We know that there's no whole number. Now I've got my tenths. I've got my hundredths. I've got my thousandths. And then I've got my 10 thousandths. Oh, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it just fits right there. 5, 6, 4, 9. So how would we say this number? We would say it is 5,649 10 thousandths. 0, we can even say 0 if we want. 0 and 5,649 10 thousandths. Wow, okay, let's write that down there. 0 and 5,649 10 thousandths. Is that right? Uh-oh, wait, hold on. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. Terrific. I had to double check. Okay. Let's write 27 over 1,000 as a decimal number. So we have 27 over 1,000. Okay, get your paper and pencil. I want you to write this out. Here's my whole number, 0 and tenths. Hundredths. I have to go all the way to thousandths, don't I? So if you did this, you would be wrong because that says 27 hundredths. This says 27 thousandths. There has to be 1, 2, 3 places. 1, 2, 3. So my 27 thousandths is going to go right here Because remember the last number, this is what we call it, 27 thousandths. A 0 is going to go there. That was a tricky one. If you didn't get that right, don't worry about it because you know what? We're reviewing. It's been a while. 0 and 0 to 7. Let me double check. 27 thousandths. Well done. Okay. Oh, here we go. Good one. Write it as a decimal number. 1/5. Remember, decimals always have to be powers of 10 because we've got tenths. We've got hundredths. We've got thousands. They're all powers of 10. So this needs to become a power of 10. Well, how do I turn 5 into a 10? Well, it's easy. And then that's easy. 2 tenths. So it looks like this. 2 tenths, 1/5 is the same as 2 tenths. That's right. How about 3/4 as a decimal number? We're turning that into a decimal number. Okay. I can think of 2 ways to do this. So I want you to pause this video and I want you to do it as the first way that we did it when we were using it as a division problem. 3 divided by 4. Go ahead and pause the video and let's see how far you go. All right, you should have 3 divided by 4 look like this because 3 is the pizza box and we're dividing by 4. I can't do it, but I can do that. What times 4 is 30? Well, I know 8 times 4 is 32, which is too high, so it's going to have to be 7, right? And 7 times 4 is 28. And when I subtract 28, 29, 30, I've got 2 left over. Add a 0 and bring it down, and now I'm at a 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Oh, that wasn't too hard. I've got 75%. I hope you got that. Here's the other way. Now, the other way is to talk about tenths. Can I turn a 4 into a 10? Nope. But I can turn it into 100, can't I? 4 times 25 is 100, right? 4 quarters is $1. That means this has to be times 25. And I get 75. 75 out of 100 is 75 hundredths. So there's 2 ways to do it. You could do it as a division problem, or you could multiply that fraction to find the hundredth place. Only because the tenths wouldn't work, because we can't multiply 4 with anything to get 10. So what is our answer? Let me double check. Is this a decimal? Yes. 0 and 75 hundredths. Great job. All right, how about 1/4 as a decimal? Well, you could do it the same way that we did before, right? 1/4, which is 1 divided by 4, or 1/4, and you can turn it into, why don't you pause the video and try it both ways. Let's see how far you can get. Pause the video and then hit play when you got both of those answers. Okay, so I can't do that, but I'm gonna put a decimal, and now I've got a 10. I've got a 2, which makes 8, and there's 2 left over. Add another 0, whoop, and that's 5. 5 times 4 is 20. So my answer here as a decimal is 25 hundredths. Let's try this one. How do I go from 4 to 100? Well, again, I multiply by 25, right? 4 quarters is 100, so this is 25. So I have 25 hundredths, which looks like this. Did you get that same answer? If you didn't get that answer, then what I want you to do is wait a little while and then try it again. I mean, don't do it right now because my answers are right in front of you. But maybe after a couple of problems, try it again. Write the problem down and maybe make a separate piece of paper that says problems that I missed. And then write the answers down so you know you can check it, right? Or just come back to IXL and practice it. And if you get it wrong, they tell you what the right answer is, and they tell you how to fix it. Okay, as a decimal number, 9/10. Well, could it be any easier with that one? 0.9, that's 9/10. How about this one as a decimal number? Ooh, that's a good one. So I have 7/100. So I need to have 7/10. No, that doesn't say 7/10. It says 7/100. 7/100. And there's 0/10. So that's why I want you to write these out, 0.07. It's really helpful, guys, to use that paper. Okay? Get your paper and pencil. You have two ways to do 1/5 as a division fraction to find that decimal, or you can convert it into an equivalent fraction. This time we can use tenths. All right, pause the video. Let's see what you get. All right, this won't work. That's a 0. And now this will, oh, that'll be a 2. Well, that was pretty easy. So I've got 2/10, or 5 times 2 is 10, 1 times 2 is 10, 2/10. They are now equivalent. Did you get that answer? 2/10 as my decimal number. Fantastic. Okay. Let's clear all of these drawings and go ahead and go to IXL and do some practice with that. Right now, we're going to practice a little more with rounding those numbers. And it was down here. And I start it for you. Round decimals. All right, make sure you've got a piece of paper and a pencil. All right, we're rounding this to the nearest. Oh, what I do? I went crazy with my biggering and biggering here. Here it is, round decimals. Now pay close attention because your IXL lesson is about rounding decimals, and this is going to help you. And of course, you can always go to YouTube and find a YouTube video. So much you can do. All right, here we go. We're rounding to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to underline the whole number. Now don't forget, we've got the king and queen of the kingdom of ruling, and the king and queen are to the right because the king and queen are always right. Now the king says if it's 5 or more, let the place value soar. But the queen says if it's 4 or less, let the place value rest. So the queen says, look, it's 4 or less, so please let that place value rest. And the answer is simply 1. And we don't have anything else. And the reason is because they only want a whole number. They're telling you, whole number only, please. So we don't put any decimals in there. We don't put numbers after it. Okay. How about this one? We're rounding to the nearest 10th. That's the place value, so I'm going to underline my 10th. And now I'm going to make sure that I put the crown on my ruler, and it's always to the right because the king and queen are always right. And it's the queen, isn't it? Because the queen is a bit smaller than the king. The queen says, if it's 4 or less, let the place value rest. So this place value is going to rest at 3. And we're rounding to the nearest 10th. So that means your answer has to have tenth. So the answer is going to be 7 3/10 because it has to have that tenth. 7 3/10. Okay, pencil and paper ready. Write down this number, 7.979. We're rounding to the nearest hundredth, so underline the hundredth place. This is the 10th, and this is the hundredth. Underline that hundredth place. Okay, pause the video, and let's see you round that number. All right, if I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth, my ruler goes to the right of my place value, and this is the king because it's 5 or more. And the king says, let that place value soar. So it's going to be 7, 9, and this was going to soar up to the number 8. And we're going to stop at that hundredth place because that's where they told us to stop. We're not going to go any further. So my answer is 7 98 hundredths. Is that what you got? All right, get your pencil ready. Write this down, 753, and we're rounding to the nearest tenth. Okay, pause the video and solve this problem. All right, I'm going to the 10th, so here's my 10th place, and I'm gonna find my king. That's a king because he says if it's 5 or more, let the place value soar. So it's going to be 5.8. 5 8/10. We stop at tenths. Did you get 5 8/10? Okay. Get your pencil. 4, 5, 8, 8, and we're rounding to, pause the video and see if you can solve it. We're rounding to the nearest whole number, so I'm going to underline my whole number. I circle the king to the right, and he says, oh yeah, you're going to become a 5 because it's going to soar. Do I need to put any decimals? Nope, because it says nearest whole number, so I don't need anything but that whole number. Perfect. All right, guys. If you want more practice, go to IXL. Don't go to IXL because you're getting graded on it. Don't go to IXL because you think you have to. Go to IXL because I guarantee, I mean, with 100%, I mean, we're talking about percents here this week, with 100% truthfulness, this will absolutely help you for the rest of your life, not just in 5th grade and not just in 6th grade. It's going to help you when you're 98 years old. You're going, the more that you do now, because your brain is young and strong. It's like a computer. When you get that computer right out of the box, it zooms super quick and fast. But as the computer gets a little older, gets a little slower, and it gets filled up with so much information, starts to slow down, right? The only way to keep that computer super fast is to upgrade. And in order to upgrade your computer, you have to kind of clean it out, get rid of the stuff that you don't need. Like, you don't need to know everything there is to know about Roblox, but you could put, get rid of some of the Roblox and add some more math in a computer. But your brain's different, guys. Your brain is a muscle. And the more that you use it, the more that it fills. Haven't you seen pictures of Arnold Schwarzenegger or any of those Mr. Universe guys? They're huge. Those muscles are ginormous. And the more that they use them, the more that they exercise them, the bigger those muscles are going to get, the stronger they're going to get. So your brain is only like a computer because we made computers to mimic a brain. But the computers don't work anywhere near as good as your brain does. Your brain is infinite. There is no end to the things your brain can do. Computers, yeah, they can only do what we tell them to do. We have to program them. but your brain can go on forever and ever and ever. But you have to keep using it. You have to keep using that brain. So keep it awake. Keep exciting things happening in your life, and look up anything that you find interesting, even if it's Roblox, because there is room in your big, beautiful brain for all of the math and all of the Roblox. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Love you. Bye.